In the intricate mosaic of existence, where the visible merges with the invisible and matter conceals ancestral secrets, a revelation of extraordinary resonance emerges, capable of redefining our perception of the body and consciousness. This initiatory journey will lead us through the veils of time, rediscovering an age-old wisdom jealously guarded by the ancient Egyptians and resonating in every culture authentically connected to the sacred. Perhaps the time has come to unveil a primordial truth, hidden in the very fabric of our biology, a secret that the dominant system has strenuously attempted to forget. Prepare to decode the arcane language of your being, for destiny is forged in the conscious application of knowledge. If this introduction has struck a deep chord in your soul, and you feel the ineffable urge to manifest your inner resonance, like now, in this instant, will be your silent signature, the vibratory seal attesting to our spiritual consonance. We will then know that our vision is aligned with yours, that this path of awakening resonates with you with the same intensity. And for those who wish to more deeply support our mission of spreading awareness and spiritual enrichment, we kindly invite you to subscribe to the channel. This gesture, made from the heart, will allow us to continue producing excellent content, weaving a network of enlightened minds and sensitive souls, united in the pursuit of truth and the expansion of consciousness. Before delving into the analysis, however, a fundamental observation is in order. The spiritual antenna, although it finds a powerful physical channel in hair, is not limited to its presence. For those who have no hair, this principle operates through the sensitivity of the scalp, awareness of the crown chakra at the top of the head, and, above all, focused intention. The connection with the soul and the universe is an intrinsic ability, activated through meditation, visualization, and conscious care of this sacred area of the body. Imagine for a moment that the key to unlocking the doors of your deepest intuition and to erecting an impenetrable shield against dissonant energies lies not in exotic amulets or rare crystals, but in an intrinsic part of your being, an element that has been with you since birth. What if it were revealed to you that a highly sophisticated spiritual antenna extends from your head, its function deliberately obscured to prevent you from understanding and activating its potential? This is not mere theoretical speculation. For millennia, the august Egyptian god Thoth, the tutelary deity of wisdom and cosmic mysteries, has disseminated teachings on this hidden truth. And today, we will reveal the ways in which he employed this intrinsic power. Consider carefully. Why did the U.S. Army, during the Vietnam War, find that its most skilled Native American trackers irrevocably lost their exceptional psychic abilities after having their hair cut? Their perception of danger vanished. Their spiritual antenna was deactivated. Your hair is not a mere adornment. It constitutes a living archive, a mnemonic vault that records every emotion and thought that flows through your being, serving as a direct channel of communication with the essence of your soul. In this treatise, we will not only provide you with irrefutable proof of this thesis, but we will also reveal the exact rites, handed down by the hermetic teachings of Thoth, so that you can activate this antenna, purify the painful memories imprisoned in your locks, and forge a protective energetic shield that no external force can ever breach. The final technique that will be revealed represents the most powerful of all, and the knowing it could alter your perception of the world forever, opening up new dimensions of understanding and interconnectedness. Separate the earth from the fire, the subtle from the dense, with gentle diligence and meticulous precision. Imagine carrying a living library on your head, a holographic compendium of all your experiences, encoded not in words but in vibrational frequencies. Each individual strand stands like a book, a pulsating and resonant chronicle of your unique existence. When you subject your hair to harsh chemical treatments, or cut it without any deliberate intention, you are not only altering your external appearance, but, on a more subtle and profound level, you are damaging your energetic files, fragmenting and disorganizing your vibrational memories. The good news is that this primordial connection can be fully restored. The first essential step is to transmute your perception, starting to see your hair not as an inert and lifeless object, but as a living, pulsating part intrinsically connected to your deepest being. When you begin to honor your hair, caring for it with awareness and intention, an extraordinary phenomenon will manifest. It will cease to be a mere passive receiver, transforming into an active and protective guardian, beginning to care for you. The vibration it emanates will perfectly align with your purest essence, generating a resonance field that will firmly reject what is unfavorable and irresistibly attract what is in perfect harmony with your soul. You will thus realize that you have no need for external amulets, since you carry on your own body one of the most powerful talismans that exist, a truth that the system has strenuously tried to make you forget. This ancestral reverence, however, was not based solely on blind faith or superstition, but was firmly anchored in empirical observation and direct experience. The ancients knew that the intrinsic power of hair was a tangible reality, measurable in its concrete effects. And this knowledge was unexpectedly and disturbingly confirmed in modern times, when the U.S. Army, during the Vietnam War, made a startling discovery regarding the hair of its Native American trackers. A revelation that, quite inadvertently, validated one of the best-kept secrets of ancient Egyptian priests for millennia, and which came to light in one of the most unlikely contexts, the dense jungles of Vietnam. The U.S. Army, in its relentless pursuit of tactical advantage, recruited Native American trackers, men whose reputation was built on almost superhuman perceptive abilities. They were capable of sensing enemy presence, spotting hidden traps, and navigating the terrain with an intuition that defied all military logic. They were a true secret weapon, and the mystery of their power lay in plain sight, in their long hair. Yet, following the stringent guidelines of standard military protocol, these trackers were ordered to cut their hair, and it was then that the inexplicable occurred. Their extraordinary abilities vanished. The same men who once moved through the jungle with a lightness of spirit now found themselves blind to danger. They failed tracking tests, fell into ambushes, and completely lost the instinctive perception that had made them so valuable. Their antenna had been severed, their connection to the sacred severed. What for the military was a simple matter of hygiene and uniformity, for them meant the loss of a sixth sense, the severing of their connection to the unseen. This sudden and inexplicable loss of ability represents a practical and unequivocal demonstration of the hermetic principle of correspondence. As above, so below; as below, so above. Hair, a tangible element of the lower physical plane, was the direct counterpart of a faculty higher power, intuition, located on the etheric plane. By cutting the physical lock, the connection with the subtle antenna was irreparably severed. Thoth taught that the human being is a microcosm, a miniature universe, and therefore, a part of our physical body can be the key to accessing a universal law. The loss of this ability was not a magical event in the fairy tale sense, but the breaking of a direct and functional correspondence, an interruption in the energetic flow that links the tangible to the intangible. In the Hindu tradition, this same wisdom is expressed in another way. Long hair helps retain and direct prana, the vital energy, toward the higher brain centers, acting as collectors of solar and cosmic energy. Yogis, not surprisingly, do not cut their hair, as they understand that each lock is a filament that keeps them connected to the universal field of consciousness, a truth deeply rooted in their spiritual practice. The biblical story of Samson, often reduced to a simple tale of physical strength, actually conceals a profoundly meaningful spiritual allegory. His hair was not the source of his muscular strength, but rather the seal of his sacred vow, the channel through which his uninterrupted connection with the divine was manifested. When Delilah betrays him and cuts off his braids, what she destroys is not his physical strength, but his spiritual bond, the vibratory pact with his highest essence. He becomes disconnected, internally fragmented, losing access to the source of his immeasurable power. In many African cultures, this sacredness is so deeply recognized that a person's hair should not be touched by anyone. Touching another's hair without consent is equivalent to opening an energetic portal, running the risk of absorbing negative emotions, thoughts, or even influences. Hair is a personal sanctuary, and access to it should be granted with awareness and profound respect. The loss of this psychic ability was therefore not an isolated incident, but rather an echo of much older events. Thousands of years earlier, one of the strongest men who ever lived lost all his faculties, not because of muscle atrophy, but because the secret of his strength was inextricably linked to a vibratory bond woven into his hair. And this connection isn't limited to the mere reception of energy. Your hair also acts as a hard drive, recording every emotion and trauma you experience. This is why alchemists didn't just transmute metals, but also aspired to transmute the memories imprisoned in matter, including those inscribed within the body itself, recognizing the depth of their interconnection. Hair as a guardian of memory and the ritual of alchemical rebirth. Alchemists, with their profound understanding of the mysteries of matter, knew that it intrinsically holds memory, and your hair is living and unmistakable proof of this. It doesn't simply capture energy, like a simple antenna, but stores it with the discretion of a silent guardian. Each individual strand represents a vibrational extension of every sensation, thought, and experience you have ever had. It is, in effect, a personal Akashic record, a library of frequencies that narrates your story without the need for words. It is for this reason that, following a traumatic event or a period of intense stress, your hair can appear heavy, lifeless, literally imbued with the energy of that experience, waiting to be released. Ancient cultures, aware of this storage function, didn't just care for their hair, but made it the object of actual rituals. Burning a lock of hair, braiding it with a specific intention, or burying it in the moonlight were not acts of mere superstition, but rather complex operations of energy engineering. These were secret codes to release emotional burdens, seal the protective field, or mark the beginning of a new existential cycle. One of the most powerful and universally recognized rituals is the cutting of hair, performed as an act of mourning or rebirth. In many tribes, upon the passing of a loved one, women would cut their hair, not only as a symbol of grief, but as a conscious act of releasing attachment and opening a space for self-healing for a new phase of life. This ritual is a practical application of the first phase of the great alchemical work, the nigredo, the black work, the phase of dissolution, of burning the impure, so that something new and purer can emerge. By cutting your hair with a deliberate intention of releasing trauma or pain, you are performing an alchemical act of dissolution. You are separating your essence, the raw material, from the impurity, which is the memory of pain. The fire or earth, to which the hair was offered, act as agents of transmutation, returning that energy to its neutral state, exactly as an alchemist purifies a substance in his laboratory. In ancient magic, hair was also a powerful element of protection. Braiding it with red threads or specific stones, such as black tourmaline, served to seal the auric field and repel dense and unwanted energies. Many witches and healers used to braid their hair during full moon rituals, not for aesthetic vanity, but to protect their vibration in the days to come, enveloping their energy in a priceless symbolic shield. In some Andean cultures, even today, children's hair is combed at dawn while words of power are spoken. Each gesture is imbued with intention, shaping not only the child's external appearance, but also their vital energy, shaping their auric field with care and devotion. Another extraordinarily powerful ritual is combing the hair while chanting a mantra or repeating a sacred affirmation. The rhythmic movement of the comb, combined with the vibration of the sound and focused thought, creates a profound and powerful synchronicity between the physical body and the etheric field. It is a true act of vibrational programming, a conscious dialogue between the inner self and the universe. If your hair appears heavy and charged with stagnant energy, the moon bath ritual, which involves washing it with water infused with purifying herbs like rosemary or sage, and letting it dry under the silvery light of the full moon, promotes a deep emotional and energetic cleansing. Hair responds intrinsically to your intention, and transforming its care into a conscious ritual is an act of energetic sovereignty, an affirmation of your inner power. However, complete dissolution, like a radical haircut, is a drastic measure, reserved for moments of profound transformation or mourning. For daily protection, initiates of the Thoth mysteries employed a far more subtle energetic sealing technique, a way to weave universal principles into a single, powerful physical structure, creating an invisible shield that accompanied them at all times, preserving their vibrational integrity. That invisible shield, expertly woven by initiates, is something we know today in a much simpler and seemingly mundane form: the braid. At first glance, it might appear to be a mere hairstyle, an aesthetic choice dictated by ephemeral fashion. But for ancient cultures, and for those who still retain the memory of their soul, the braid is an act of daily magic, a sacred symbol that protects, seals, and aligns the individual's energy field. Braiding hair isn't simply intertwining strands. It's weaving intentions, uniting thought, emotion, and will into a single act of creative power. In many shamanic traditions, the act of braiding hair before a ceremony or spiritual journey was considered as essential as preparing the altar. The braid acted as a vibrational knot, a seal that prevented the dispersion of vital energy and, at the same time, blocked the entry of unwanted external influences. It was an invisible armor, a personal force field, a bulwark against energetic intrusions. In ancient Europe, wise women, midwives, and healers braided their hair at dawn, not out of vanity, but as an act of psychic protection. They knew that their work exposed them to dense energies, and the braid was their shield, their living amulet. The three-strand braid is the physical manifestation of the principle of gender and the sacred trinity, present in traditions such as the Egyptian one with Osiris, Isis, and Horus. The braid unites the masculine principle, which is intention and will, the first strand, with the feminine principle, which is intuition and receptivity, the second strand, to generate a third element, manifest protection and order, the third strand. Braiding hair, from this perspective, is a daily ritual to balance the masculine and feminine poles within oneself, creating a cohesive and protected inner reality. In Africa, many traditional braids go further, following complex geometric and spiritual patterns. They can represent life paths, symbols of fertility, resistance, or a connection with ancestors. In this context, braided hair is not decoration. It is a codified energetic identity, a silent language that narrates the history of a people and its soul. In India, some Hindu traditions teach that a woman who does not braid her hair disperses her energy, leaving her open to all kinds of influences. This is why in sacred rituals and festivals, hair is carefully gathered and braided, often adorned with flowers and oils, in a gesture that is an offering to the soul, an act of devotion and centering. You can use this knowledge as a personal ritual. If you're experiencing inner chaos or anxiety, sit quietly and begin slowly braiding your hair. As you do so, visualize organizing your thoughts, aligning your emotions, and sealing your decisions. In more advanced protection rituals, the braid can be strengthened with red threads or drops of essential oils like sandalwood or myrrh, elements that amplify intent. But be careful. Hair is intimate, and an intentional braid is delicate. Touching it without permission can disrupt the energetic work, dispersing the accumulated energy. But the union of the Trinity can be encoded in even more complex ways. In certain traditions, the patterns woven into the hair were not just shields. They were living diagrams of the very geometry of the universe, maps that held secrets of liberation and survival, connected to the deepest codes of creation. The alchemy of water and the comb, a profound emotional purification. Those maps woven into the hair reveal a profound and arcane wisdom. However, there is a purification ritual as powerful as it is simple, requiring no complex codes or elaborate preparations, but only the harmonious union of two primordial elements, water and focused intention. There is something intrinsically ritualistic about the act of combing one's hair. Although it is a gesture we perform daily, there are moments when it transforms, taking on an unusual intensity, becoming a pressing need of the soul. Combing is not simply about untangling locks. It is about untangling emotions, organizing subtle energy, and purifying the auric field of accumulated waste. And when the most ancient and purifying element in the world, water, is added to this gesture, the result is pure transformative alchemy. Since time immemorial, water has been considered a portal of purification and rebirth. It doesn't just cleanse the physical body, it purifies the energy, obsolete memories, and stagnant emotions that weigh down the soul. This is why the most sacred rituals of all cultures, from Christian baptisms to pagan moon baths, feature water as a central and essential element. When we combine this purifying power with the intimate act of combing our hair, we transform a simple cleansing into a profound act of emotional transmutation. Each stroke of the comb becomes a channel that removes burdensome, hurtful, and low-frequency vibrations. The tension that builds up in the scalp, an area too often neglected, begins to release. And with it, obsessive thoughts, nagging worries, and energetic knots of the soul are released, melting away like frost in the sun. Wise women recommend this ritual in moments of profound grief, emotional breakups, significant losses, heartbreaking grief. Nothing sophisticated is needed, just a comb, warm water, and your full conscious presence. You can add a few drops of lavender or chamomile essential oil to the water and begin to comb from the roots with slow, meditative movements, breathing deeply. As you comb, visualize smoothing your emotions, each individual strand freeing itself of what no longer belongs to you. To enhance the ritual, perform it in front of a mirror with a lit candle. Gaze at your reflection tenderly, as if you were healing the most wounded part of yourself or your future self, already healed and radiant. In that moment, you are performing true magic, an act of love and self-care that transcends the physical plane. Water also holds memory, and you can program it. Before beginning, hold the water in your hands and pronounce what you wish to release, what you need to purify. Let it touch your hair like the hands of the divine. This ritual is genderless, because the soul is genderless. Anyone who understands its essence can access this deeper dimension of energetic self-care. There are pains that no medicine can cure, but which dissolve with water, touch, silence, and a comb. You've just learned to recalibrate your spiritual antenna. Now let's amplify the signal. There's a way to transform this ritual into a conscious act of programming your reality, and it does so by using a trinity of powers that Egyptian magicians mastered to manifest their desires in the physical world, an alchemical secret of inestimable value. The Egyptian magician's trinity of power teaches us that every action is a declaration to the universe, a seal placed on the quantum field of reality. And there's a rarely mentioned aspect. Every gesture you make with your body programs your subtle energy. Your hair, as an antenna, memory repository, and symbol, is no exception to this universal law. Cutting it, straightening it, dyeing it, ignoring it. These aren't simple aesthetic decisions. They are vibrational declarations, choices that shape your energy field without you even fully realizing it. Every time you cut your hair without conscious intention, you may be interrupting an internal cycle that hasn't yet harmoniously concluded. Every time you dye it with harsh, unloving chemicals, you may symbolically cover up emotions that demand to emerge into the light, stifling the authentic expression of your deepest soul. And every time you touch it in anger or shame, frustrated by your appearance, you are silently sending a message of rejection to your very being. These small actions, repeated day after day, create a frequency, an energetic signature that attracts corresponding experiences into your life, reinforcing the disconnection from your most authentic self. The system, though not explicitly, intuitively understands this dynamic. This is why it promotes constant hair modification, encouraging change for change's sake, submission to fleeting trends, and uncritical imitation. When you are disconnected from your natural expression, from your unique energetic signature, you become more manipulable, more distant from your essence, and more vulnerable on a subtle level, exposed to external influences. Reflect on the spiritual control rituals in certain military orders, in rigid boarding schools, and in re-education centers. What is the first action imposed? Shaving your head. They know, even if they will never openly admit it, that this act severs a vital channel to identity, inner power, and vibrational memory. It is an act of erasure, of forced standardization, aimed at breaking individual strength. But you can reverse this tendency. You can transform your hair care into an act of sacred resistance, an affirmation of your spiritual sovereignty. Every gesture can become a conscious micro-ritual. Braid your hair to protect your energy before a busy day. Comb it to calm your mind before restful sleep. Let it flow freely when you need expansion and creativity. No great ceremony is necessary. Just presence, just pure intention. Just the reminder that your hair is a visible part of your soul. If anyone tells you all this is nonsense, just observe. Notice how your body reacts when someone touches your hair without permission. Feel how your energy changes when someone tenderly combs it or when you angrily pull it back. Your body knows the truth. Your soul knows it too knows. Perhaps that's why they continue to grow even after death, clinging to what has yet to be said. Now that you understand the power inherent in each strand, it's time to delve into the source of this wisdom. Knowledge of the spiritual antenna is not a recent discovery. It is ancient, and its origins lead us directly to one of the greatest masters of occult knowledge, a figure who profoundly understood the intrinsic connection between the physical and the divine, the great Thoth, keeper of the wisdom of the hair. The mention of Thoth as the guardian of this knowledge is not a mere figure of speech, but rather the hermeneutic key to understanding the abysmal depth of what we are analyzing. Thoth, the Egyptian deity of wisdom, writing, and magic, often depicted with the head of an ibis, was the scribe of the gods, the master of cosmic mysteries. He was the architect of knowledge, the one who translated universal laws into symbols and words that humanity could discern. His presence in this context symbolizes the invisible bridge between intuitive knowledge and the laws that govern the energy of the universe. Thoth teaches that consciousness flows from the one, that is, from the universal mind to the individual soul, and from the soul to the physical body. For this communication to be clear and uninterrupted, the channel must be purified. Water, for the Egyptian alchemists and priests, was not just H2O. It was the universal solvent, the medium through which all dense energies could be dissolved and reconfigured into a more harmonious state. In the Emerald Tablets, a text attributed to Thoth himself, it is written, "Seek first to purify your soul, only then will you have the hope of reading the Book of Life." The ritual of combing your hair in water is the literal application of this pervasive teaching. This is where the most powerful knowledge is revealed. Your hair, as an extension of your nervous system, is the physical antenna. Water purifies that antenna of all static, all interference, which are nothing more than stagnant emotions and accumulated negative thoughts. The act of combing your hair with intention, which is your focused and directed will, channels the flow of energy, facilitating this communication. When the antenna is clean and calibrated, the whispers of the soul, your intuition, and innate wisdom can finally be received with crystal clarity. You are not simply purifying yourself physically. You are performing an act of spiritual calibration, tuning your receiver to capture the higher frequencies of your higher self and the entire universe. Thoth's wisdom lies not in complex texts or arcane formulas, but in the practical application of universal laws. He taught that truth is encoded in everything around us, waiting to be deciphered. The understanding of hair as an extension of the soul and a receptor of subtle energy is, therefore, a fragment of the universal knowledge that Thoth embodied. The association of hair with the spiritual antenna aligns perfectly with the esoteric principles he represented. He was the master of divine communication, and hair is one of our most direct channels. Understanding this means reclaiming a spiritual technology bestowed upon us at birth. It is the reminder that we are not separate from the cosmos, but intrinsically connected to it, through every fiber of our being, including every single strand of hair that grows on our head. You've just learned how to calibrate your antenna, how to purify the communication channel with your soul. Now it's time to amplify this signal further. There's a method to transform this purification ritual into a conscious act of programming your reality, using a trinity of power that Egyptian magicians and priests mastered to manifest their desires in the physical world. The trinity of power of the ancient Egyptian magicians teaches us to transcend mere purification and enter the realm of conscious creation. Understanding hair as an antenna elevates us to a new level of self-care, where every gesture becomes a sacred micro-ritual, imbued with meaning and power. Intention is key. Hair meditation, for example, can become an extraordinarily effective practice. Sit under the benevolent sunlight and visualize each strand transforming into a golden fiber, absorbing the sunlight and channeling that energy directly into your brain and every cell of your body, revitalizing your entire being with a wave of cosmic energy. Using precious essential oils, such as sandalwood, myrrh, or frankincense, not only physically nourishes the hair but also elevates its vibration, making it more receptive to subtle energies. Anointing the ends of your hair with these oils before meditating or going to bed transforms your antenna into an even more efficient conductor of subtle energies and messages from your higher self, opening you to a dimension of deeper inner communication. This is the principle of mentalism in action. Everything is mind, the universe is mental. By performing this act, you are creating a microcosm of the universal creative process, using your mind to project a new reality into your own energy field, manifesting the intrinsic power of your consciousness. The practice of the alchemical trinity is the direct application of this principle. Sit in front of a mirror, which represents the universal mind reflected in you, and light a candle, whose flame symbolizes divine will and ceaseless transmutation. And as you slowly comb your hair, repeat an affirmation, a new truth you wish to anchor within your being. Your word is the logos, the primordial sound that gives form to creation. In that moment, you are imitating the Creator, programming your subconscious and your energy field with a new and powerful frequency. Beyond formal rituals, the way you treat your hair in daily life is crucial. Letting your hair flow freely in moments of creative expansion allows energy to flow unrestricted, fostering inspiration. Braiding your hair before an important meeting or a difficult conversation helps focus and protect your energy, creating an invisible bulwark. The act of cutting your hair, when performed with the intention of closing a cycle after inner healing, becomes a powerful rite of passage, a declaration to the universe that you are ready for the new. Honoring and respecting your hair are essential. Speaking to it, thanking it for its protection, recognizing it as a living and sensitive part of your being. All of this activates its intrinsic power. It's not about fleeting vanity, but about recognizing the sacredness of your own body. And each of these practices strengthens your connection to the divine, making your antenna stronger, clearer, and more attuned to the inexhaustible wisdom of the cosmos. Now that you understand how to employ universal laws to program and protect your being, it is imperative to understand how these same laws can be subtly used to exert control over you. There is a profound reason why the first step in subjugating an individual, in breaking their spirit, is invariably a direct attack on the spiritual antenna, a deliberate action intended to disconnect them from their very soul. Hair and the soul, an indissoluble bond. The attack on the antenna, the forced shaving of the head, is the intentional inversion of sacred knowledge. It is the perverse application of the principle of polarity. Everything has its opposite. The same knowledge that can be used for liberation, connecting to the higher self through the hair, can also be used for enslavement, removing the hair to disconnect the individual from their intrinsic source of power. The system, whether conscious or unconscious of this subtle dynamic, promotes negative polarity, disconnection, uniformity, and the loss of spiritual sovereignty, leaving the individual vulnerable to external programming and manipulation. The relationship between hair and the soul is a profound mystery, yet their connection is indissoluble, almost a cosmic pact sealed in the flesh. The fact that hair is the only part of the body that continues to grow even after physical death is a silent and powerful testament to its connection to something beyond material existence. It is the last strand connecting us to matter, preserving the memories, emotions, and experiences of an entire lifetime. It serves as a vibrational record of the soul's journey, a chronicle that does not fade with the last breath. When hair is treated with reverence and intention, it becomes a mirror of spiritual health, reflecting vitality, harmony, and unmistakable inner clarity. Its sensitivity to external energy, the way it can stand on end in certain situations or appear heavy in dense environments, is a constant reminder that we are interconnected beings, influencing and being influenced by the universal energy field. We are not isolated entities. We are part of a vast cosmic web of vibrations. This uninterrupted connection to the soul manifests in acute intuition, subtle perception, and the ability to perceive the unseen. Hair is not a mere passive antenna. It is a repository of ancestral wisdom, a link to our spiritual lineage, and a channel for communication with our deepest self. By honoring our hair, we are honoring ourselves on a level that modern society has taught us to forget, recognizing the intrinsic sacredness of our very existence. When you touch your hair with awareness, you are touching the history of your soul. When you care for it with love, you are nourishing your very essence. This understanding transforms self-care into a sacred act, a daily spiritual practice that permeates every fiber of your being. You will realize that you do not need to seek connection with the divine in distant temples, because you carry a living temple within your very body, and your hair is one of its tallest towers, perpetually pointing skyward, yearning for infinity. The system uses polarity for control, but you can employ the same principle for your fullest freedom. Every gesture from now on is a conscious choice of which pole you will nourish, whether that of subservience or that of spiritual sovereignty, of conscious awakening. And ultimately, your hair holds a final, ineffable secret, one that not even death can obliterate. An invitation to enlightenment that transforms not only your relationship with your hair, but with your entire being. The invitation has been given. The awareness that your hair is a spiritual antenna and that your soul communicates through it is not merely fascinating information. It is an exhortation to a profound metamorphosis. It is a call to awaken your inner antenna, to reconnect with the ancestral wisdom that resides within each of us, an invisible yet powerful heritage. By integrating this understanding into your daily life, you will not only change the way you care for your hair, you will transmute the way you relate to yourself and the entire universe. Every act of care becomes an act of energetic sovereignty. Combing your hair in the morning becomes an act of organizing your thoughts for the day ahead. Washing your hair becomes a ritual of emotional and spiritual purification. Braiding it becomes an act of sealing your energy with protection and focus. You will stop being a passive participant in your life and become a conscious co-creator, using the tools that have always been available to you, but whose power you had forgotten. This is the application of the principle of rhythm. Everything has an ebb and flow, and you will learn to master your internal rhythm, attuning yourself to cosmic harmony. This awakening is not a single, isolated event, but the beginning of an ongoing journey of self-discovery and personal empowerment. Your hair becomes a sensitive guide, an eloquent barometer of your inner state. When it is vibrant and healthy, it is a sign that you are in alignment with your essence. When it appears weak and lifeless, it is an invitation to look within and discern what needs attention and care. They become a constant reminder of your spiritual nature and your innate power to heal and manifest. By honoring this sacred connection, you open yourself to a deeper dimension of existence. Intuition, once a distant and almost inaudible whisper, becomes a clear and unmistakable voice. Energy, once stagnant and blocked, begins to flow freely, flooding your being with vitality. Communication with your soul, once hindered by the static nature of modern life, becomes a constant and harmonious dialogue. Hair, in its simplicity and complexity, reveals itself as a spiritual code that, once deciphered, opens the path to a fuller, more conscious, and more deeply connected existence. The choice to activate this antenna is entirely yours. The universe is ceaselessly engaged in broadcasting wisdom, love, and guidance. The question has never been whether the transmission exists, but whether your receiver is turned on and tuned to the right frequency. Now you have the manual. You know how to clear the channel, how to calibrate the frequency, and how to amplify the signal. The journey of reconnection begins with a single gesture of conscious intention. In this journey through the depths of ancestral wisdom, we have rediscovered that our hair is not merely an aesthetic attribute, but rather a mystical key, a spiritual antenna imbued with power and memory. We have decoded the whispers of Thoth and the silent lessons of nature, understanding that our body is a living temple, a microcosm resonating with the universe. The awareness that each strand is a filament of divine connection invites us to transcend the superficial, to elevate self-care to a sacred act, a daily dance with the very essence of life. This is not the end, but the dawn of a new perception, an invitation to fully manifest your energetic sovereignty in every gesture, every thought. And the universe awaits your resonance, your crystalline intention. If you've come this far, it's because your heart has perceived the truth that resonates in these words. Leave a comment below, a vibrant affirmation of your awakening. Write, "Connected Soul," to seal your commitment to this journey of awareness. Furthermore, your like is a precious gift, an energy that nourishes and expands our mission. Share this video with anyone who feels the call of this truth, so that the light of knowledge may illuminate ever more souls. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Join our circle of seekers, dreamers, and builders of a new world, where every human being is a radiant antenna of universal wisdom. Your support is the fertile soil on which our vision flourishes, allowing us to weave new threads of awareness and offer content that warms the heart and enlightens the mind. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for participating in this extraordinary journey. May your antenna always be on, your soul attuned, and your path illuminated by the truth that resides in every filament. With wishes for a life woven with wisdom and love, I send you warm and reverent greetings. See you soon.